Hello, I'm Susan Salo, and welcome to Advanced Jumping. In this seminar, we'll be looking at the dog's more advanced jumping skills, which will include different grids, no longer so many straight line grids, and a lot more motion from handling perspective. So as we get into our more advanced levels of work, then clearly we don't want to pattern the dogs and work just one grid until we like it and then move on to the next, because that does not produce instant recognition of task. That is the all-important element we're looking for as we work our dogs. We want them to assess as we leave them at the start line and lead out to wherever we are embedding ourselves into the course. We want them to assess how best and quickest to get there. If your mindset is that you're having trouble or struggling with one grid or another, and you'd like to stay with that one until you like it a little bit better or the dog performs it with greater ease, then you really are eliminating the possibility for that instant recognition of task. If you will, these are all questions. It's like a game to the dog. We want to keep them fresh. We want to keep them happy. We want to keep them assessing things very quickly because they know the game is always changing. For them, that's the fun part. We want them to be quick-minded and fresh and have the athleticism built in to do what they have to do to get the job done. Once you get past the foundation levels, what I'm always looking at, kind of along your line for this last weekend, which we'll discuss here too, is how they use space. That's really the primary function after the mechanical aspect of how they come off the ground. We're assuming everyone has worked through that process with the foundation work, and that no one has bypassed that for the more interesting work of more advanced jumping. Once you get to that stage, it's quite clear motion becomes a huge part of the process. In the early days of doing this, I really did not allow the people to move. They either let out or they recalled, and I kept them there forever. And it then became very clear as people started to tell me, well, the grid work is lovely, but when I go to a trial, it's not there. And as I began to learn more about handling and that process, both the art form and the science of, then it did become quite clear that it all boils down to motion, either good or bad. Motion overrides almost everything. So the grids have to be proofed through motion. We're hoping everyone has done that with all the foundation work. And now you get into a little more advanced forms of grid work. And once that happens, there are really very few straight lines per se. Then we really focus a lot on the bend work to tighten the bends up, to keep the dogs turning tight and driving the tight lines. I have held the premise for a long while, and it has not changed. The more responsive the dog, the less collection they need to turn.